Clinton. I am currently a PGY-3 in internal medicine in Savannah, Georgia, and this video is basically after I put in a whole lot of hours into my fellowship application, which I just applied about 2 days ago. I think it is my ethical responsibility to make your journey easier. This might be fruitful for even people that haven't applied to this cycle I'm undergoing, and actually can be benefit or fruitful for those that apply in the future. I want to make your journey easier. That's the reason I share these things. So if it works for just one of you, mission accomplished. Actually, I have several people I'm mentoring, and they've told me that this video would probably be useful for them. So that makes the trick. Of course, if it helps others, great. This video is going to help out anyone applying to United States medical residency and fellowship. Those two things. Of course, the title says fellowship application because I'm currently undergoing fellowship application, but about 90% of the things I say here will be applicable to residency match. So it's probably going to be able to help a lot of people. I always love feedback, so please let me know any errors, anything I can do to improve my presentation or the information that's here. Let's generate a nice little environment in the chat section below to help others in their journey. If you have any questions, just ask me and I'll probably be answering as soon as I see it. So, of course, without further ado, I applied a couple days ago, and let's go into the action. Towards the end, I will give you some pro tips I found very useful in my personal application. So I will talk about that in the end, but initially it's going to be like a recipe that we're going to go as quick as possible. I will add links to all the links you see here in the presentation will be in the comment section below, and I'll also timestamp this as soon as I get a chance so you're able to go to the specific section you're looking for. So first question, always. Should I pursue fellowship, okay? Or should I pursue residency? I want you to think of one single acronym, which is ROI. ROI means return of investment. Remember that any work you put in is going to be an investment, ideally. You don't want to make it actually become a waste of time, right? So you want to invest your time. You want to put your time wisely towards something. So you have to think about it. Do I want to actually pursue this? Because, for example, right now I have several co-residents that are here in internal medicine that will end up doing primary care or working as a hospitalist. So they're not interested in further training, no additional fellowship. Or I also know people from Costa Rica, where I underwent fellowship over there, that were okay with that and didn't want to pursue residency in the US. That's going to be the majority of doctors over there. Or there are also doctors that want to pursue a residency over here from Costa Rica, but they don't have they're not in a financial situation available for application, or they have a family, they don't have time to study for the STEP exams. So that's what I mean, return of investment. Think, is it going to be worth it in the end? Don't think about right now what's going to happen next year. Think long term. Long term, is this going to play out well for me? Because that's what you usually want to think. Not short term gains, but the long term is going to be more worth it in the end. So I do recommend this article from White Coat Investor. It might be a little bit financially driven, but be open-minded. This is not only your time, it's your energy, it's your livelihood, it's all that. So yeah, there's a lot of people that say, no, man, you've been training. I personally have been training in residency/fellowship. Right now, this would be my 8th year. And I want to go into fellowship for at least an additional 2 to 3 years, for example. So many people wouldn't have the energy. Many people would be like, no, you're crazy, all that. Well, for my case in particular, I am totally fine with it. I believe I am a lifelong learner, and I believe that is part of my journey towards success, me specifically. I also have a family that supports me 100% on it, so that's also great news. So this is a personalized answer. So I want you to grab a piece of paper, and on one column, you write the pros, and the other column, you write the cons. You also talk about it with your family or the real people that are rooting for you in reality, okay? So that's it. Once you, of course, this video is how to apply to fellowship. So, of course, it will be guided towards you making the decision that you actually want to apply for residency or fellowship. So the question is, if you decided to put in the work, but is it going to actually become something attainable? Will you be able to actually match into fellowship or residency? Well, I would like to give you the spoiler alert that the answer is probably yes. The odds are on your side. If you want to match into residency, the odds are a little lower, but the glass is more than half full. So in life, you have to see the glass half full, because if you see it half empty, you won't be able to achieve or overcome absolutely anything. So, of course, the objective data is the glass is more than half full. If you use that mindset, you definitely can match. I'll tell you specifically the numbers for fellowship, which are even better than the matching numbers for residency. So let's see it right over here. There were a total of, for this last cycle, 2024, 14,034 applicants, and there were a total of 14,169 positions. So you're telling me that there's actually more positions than applicants? That's great. But the next following question will be, okay, but how many people are actually matching? Because that might sound great, but if only 20% of these people are matching, in the end, it's horrible, right? But look at this other number. About 85% of the applicants are actually matching. So those are great odds. With your application right over here, without even reading your application, you can ask me, hey, Charles, what is my probability of matching into fellowship? I'll tell you, in paper, it's 85%. That's great. Now, is it going to be 80 or is it going to be 90? That depends on you. That depends on the variables you are controlling, because you're the one that is deciding how good your application looks. You're deciding if your application is going to be just 1 page or if it's going to be 13 pages, right? Of course, if you have 13 pages on an application, oh, this person has been up to something. This person has been busy. This person has been putting in the work. So of course, a better application will increase your odds dramatically. You can also see this chart right here. It's just the same representation. Of course, year by year, there's more increased needs for professionals. So that's also great, meaning there's more positions, there's more human beings to actually treat, and more complexities. So here you can see this is a pretty solid relationship between positions and applicants. So if you're someone that thinks like me, you would immediately see, oh, how many positions there are and how many applicants. There's more positions than applicants. I'm in there. I'm just matching, like no question about it. If I give my 100%, there's no reason for me not to match. That's the mentality and mindset I need you guys to have. Okay, so next thing is, remember, a dream isn't anything. It's just something. You go to sleep, you dream about things. You might dream that you become president. Do you actually become a president? No. Well, I wouldn't say president nowadays, but I would say maybe other things. You dream about being an astronaut. Do you become one in 10 years from now? You don't. Why don't you? Because you just thought about it. You didn't put a end time, or you didn't put a time frame or goal to that. So remember, a goal is a dream with a time frame attached to that. That's what I want you to understand. So you want to know your time frame. You want to go type this into your search bar. If you're in this application in 2024 and you're applying right now, you would type in 2025 ERAS Fellowship Application Timeline, and you'll go into the AAMC website, and you'll see this information right here. If you're in another year, of course, type in the year you are applying to. And of course, here I have this presentation. I was making it for myself. But of course, if it's helpful for you, I'm sharing it. I just want to show you that it was May 12th when I actually took this screenshot showing that this information right here. So I was between these two dates, so I could see that 2024 ERA season I didn't care about because I'm applying for the next match cycle. June 5th, 2024, ERA season begins at 9 a.m. Okay, so I'm almost a month out of the season to begin. What's the next thing I have to do? I see June 6th, EFDO will distribute tokens to fellowship applicants. That's what I want to do because that's going to be the next step towards me working on my application online. Okay, so this is a little more information about the timeline. This link right here I'll have in the comment section or the description section below, but this just gives you a little bit more specifics about the timeline. Okay, now going to the token. So the token is when the ERA season opens, you can try and get to the AAMC, or you can type in AAMC MYERAS login, and you get in there, you put in your information, but then you'll have a hard stop because it will tell you that you need an electronic token to proceed, to continue filling in your application. This token will cost a little bit of money. I'll show you following this. It's around $185 approximately, I believe, and that's how you'll have access to actually work on your application. So here you can see it's asking me that I have to enter a number here. So how will you acquire this number? You have to go to ERAS Fellowship Documents, I believe. Let's see. Request a token. Here you can see erasfellowshipdocuments.org. Request a token. You click on that, and once you click on that, of course, you accept the terms, right? You have to decide here where you graduated. Depending on that, you'll click continue. You'll review your personal information right over here, and once all that is good, you click again continue, and it'll take you to the confirmation page, and you will be able to apply to pay it. It's going to be important to note this right here that is underlined. You may only register one ERAS Fellowship token per application season, but you can use your application to apply to as many participating programs or specialties as you wish. So for example, you want to apply to 2 different specialties, you can use your single token. It doesn't mean you have to buy 2 tokens. What it means is that you can't use your single token to apply in 2024 and then apply in the 2025 cycle. That's what it's saying. Okay, so next we go to this little subsection, document submission. It shows you which documents you should submit, which documents are unnecessary, but we'll go over that a little later. So now let's talk about the token number. So now you have already paid for your token number, you have already received it, and now you go put it in that little section I told you in the MYERAS login. And now you have access to this information. So now it is showing you this information. In my case, it already auto-populates. Why does it auto-populate? Because I already underwent residency match through this same system right here. So it's going to ask me, do you want to preserve your residency information or you don't want to preserve it? So I would recommend you never click on anything before actually reading what's on the screen, because I have friends that actually didn't read this and they just click here, no application data. They just hit enter, and when they noticed, when I was talking with them, they were like, oh yeah, I had to start putting in all my information from scratch. In my case, I did read through this. I just preserved residency information, so all my biographical information was there, personal information was there. I just had to do some minor edits. For example, I lived in Costa Rica when I applied for residency, so I had to change the address. I had to change also the phone number and little things like that. There are several things that you will also have to be adding, but read through everything. Okay, that's a good recommendation. Become familiar with your interface. Okay, so this is probably a pro tip that I'll give you right now, but remember, pro tip section will be following. Pro tip is going to be have all your application. Well, I have it here. Let's hold it right here. You want to be able to access this from your computer, but you won't always have your computer with you. So you might not have your computer, you might have only your cell phone with you. So you want to be able to access the MYERAS through your cell phone. You can see it right over here. Here I have it. Here I just have to log it in. And you can also, if you only have 5 minutes and you're not doing anything, instead of going into social media, you can actually log into your account through there and start work on little things, little details through it. Okay, so of course, most of the work you'll put into this will be from a laptop or desktop computer. So you want to get familiar with every single thing you find here. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. This is another pro tip I'm going to give you right here. If you see right here, this isn't checked. Share interview information with Dean's office. So when I read through this, I actually thought Dean's office, this would be my university back home, my medical school back home. That won't make any difference. But then I was reading a little further, and somewhere I read that if you click on that, actually your dean's office will be the EFDO people during the match cycle. So it's not going to be your medical school, but it's actually going to be the people in charge of handling these documents you are uploading here through the EFDO. So if you have any issue, if you have any question, if you need any help, it is better to click on this thing right here during the match season, as you can see right over here. And that way, apparently, they have easier access or quicker access into all this interface you have over here in case you deal with any troubleshooting. Even if you don't want to deal with troubleshooting, even if you think you're doing everything perfectly, you will often find one or two things that will possibly delay you, and you want to be the most time efficient you can. So I would click on that as soon as you get into this actually interface, to be honest. That's what I do. Here you can see my interface. As soon as I open it up, I took a screenshot, so you can see that it automatically imported all this information. This other information, of course, is going to be in zero. I have to upload several things again. And this thing on the right is going to be basically showing me the different resources I have. So these are going to be your friends. Take this into account, and we will talk a little more of it in the future, shortly. This is another very good webpage. So we've already talked about MYERAS. That's going to be one of the main webpages you will be using. We already talked about EFDO, which is going to be mainly the ones handling your documents and where you will be uploading your documents. And we'll talk a little more about that soon. And this is going to be the NRMP, which stands for National Resident Match Program. And this page is also going to be very useful. So, ERAS Fellowship documents. This is going to show you also the documents you're going to be requiring. We already talked a little bit about this. Here you can see it was the same screen showing me that I needed the token and all that. You can't do anything without the token, of course. You want to also be able to see which are the programs you will be applying to. So for example, from your cell phone, if you think, oh, I want to advance on my application, but I can't do anything from the cell phone, that's not correct. You can go into your cell phone and you can actually go and see what are the programs that are in the fellowship of choice you want. So you can do that on your spare time. You can get a piece of paper and you can go through, oh, there's 267 cardiology programs. Let's see which ones I would be interested of right off the bat, right? So you write this one, you start writing them off. You want to know a little more information about this other one, and so you write it down. So those are things that in the end, you notice, oh man, that's great that I actually put in the time doing this when I had these little spare moments, because you don't want to get to the application day and be thinking about, I don't even know what's the difference between this sort of program and this other one. You don't want that to happen, okay? So this is another website. I will leave the link below. So now getting more into the action, we have this document section in your main ERAS screen, and here you can see that you have to upload these things, you have to assign these things. You want all these things, when you apply, you want everything looking green, because yellow means it's either not uploaded or it is processing. So you want everything in green. So the first thing I would do if I were you, I would click on this one. This is the quickest one you can get actually uploaded. So I would click right over here, and it gives you the option. It's like $80, so it's gonna ask you for a one-time payment of about $80. And this status report, you don't have to do anything else. Then just click on it and basically tell them like, yeah, I want you guys to release this information to the programs I'm applying to, and it will just charge you $80, and that's it. And you just get this out of the way. You don't want to do this the last day. Then any little thing you can work on, of course, do it. The photo. Okay, I want you, once you start residency and you're thinking on fellowship, I want you to immediately get any chance you have for additional professional pictures, to get them. In my case, when I went to the European Society of Cardiology conference in Paris, France, I got a couple of professional pictures. Guess what? That is one of those pictures is the one I used for MYERAS when I applied for residency. When I went to the American College of Cardiology conference this year, guess what? I got new pictures. I got one with a white coat on. I got one with formal attire. And yeah, I also used those to update my picture here. So that's what I want you to have in mind. You have to start working on this early, and we'll get to pro tips soon. So medical school transcript and MSPE, that's going to be if you graduated abroad the United States, you will see that you have the option of you uploading it. So since I already had to go through all the hassle during residency to translate these documents, official translation, get them uploaded here, of course I have a copy of them on my computer since I applied for residency, so it was fairly easy. On this occasion, I just uploaded this. Now, your MSPE won't change, and your medical school transcript won't change when you apply for fellowship, because this is asking for the documentation for your medical school and not for your residency training. ABSITE is going to be only for surgical residents or surgically related fields. So in my case, I'm internal medicine, and I'm going to apply to cardiology as my main focus. I will also be applying to critical care medicine, because I can also see myself in that area and potentially going into cardiovascular intensive care. But my main focus is probably going to be cardiology, but I do like both a lot. So we'll see how interview season goes for me, but depending on how my gut feeling goes with the interviews I get, fingers crossed, I will be deciding. But what I want to get to is that I'm not applying to any surgical related field. So this is the only thing you're permitted to have in yellow once you send your full application if you're in a non-surgical related field. Then we already talked about all these. And USMLE transcript, this is, oh sorry, I mixed up the ECFMG status report with the USMLE transcript. Those two right off the bat, you just click on them and say yes, and you agree to the terms. The one that is going to charge you the $80 is this one that you see right over here. So that's the first thing. The same thing you're seeing in my interface. On day number 1 that you access this after putting in the token, that's when you can get these two things already in green. So you want to start advancing from the get-go. And when you ask yourself, that's weird, I don't know how I can upload my photo, my picture. This is impossible. Sometimes it takes hours to actually determine that. So that's why I'm guiding you through here. You go here, EFDO, upload your document. So you click on that, and that will take you to this next webpage, and this webpage will show you the different options for you to upload, of course. So every one you click, it will give you different specifics. So you might have an incredible picture. Like I had one, I love great resolution, huge picture. Of course, when I wanted to upload it, it wasn't possible because the software only allows you to upload about 1,200 kilobytes, and this picture was like megabytes. So you have to edit your picture, and you have to see the picture through. Just don't edit it and convert it into 1,100, and then just see that your picture now looks like crap, right? You want to make the change and then open the picture up and see it. You want to do all those things, but I won't go into the specifics because it's pretty self-explanatory once you click into each of these different sections. Now let's talk about, this is specifically related to the medical school transcript. I already explained to you that if you graduated medicine in the US, you probably would have to contact your medical school because they would be uploading your medical school transcript and your MSPE. That's the most probable thing. If you graduated outside of the US, there is the option that you could potentially upload it to the system yourself. So I will just leave this here. I'm gonna get out of the way here for you so that you can pause the video, you can read through it, right? And you know how to access this because I just showed you in the previous slides, and you read it through. So in my particular case, I was in charge of having to upload the MSPE and the medical school transcript when I applied to residency in the US because my university had no idea how to do it. So I had to guide them, and I actually asked them to try to upload it themselves, and they told me that I had to do it, so I did it. So of course I also did it again for fellowship because they are the same exact documents that have no change. They have no change to them, so I don't have to contact them again to upload these things that are the exact same documents. Okay, so now another caveat about this is that the MSPE document, not many universities or medical schools outside of the United States do not provide MSPEs to their students. They do give you the medical school transcript, but the MSPE is sort of an idea. Medical school performance evaluation is more of an idea promoted by the United States and made here in the US. So talk with your medical school, and like for example, my medical school, it was just starting to do it, and if I wouldn't have been persistent, they would have told me they didn't have this document, but they actually did have this document. They had to work on it a little more before actually giving it to me for upload. So yeah, but I do know of a lot of cases of people that don't have an MSPE and probably won't have one. So you just take that into account, and also read it through that. Now for fellowship application, maybe the medical school transcript and MSPE won't be that necessary, but I'm a guy that will turn all the stones. I am proud of all I've gone through and all my journey, so I will be uploading every single thing I can. But you have to think wisely. You have to think out for yourself. If you now are doing great, and in medical school you just weren't concentrated and you did horribly, and you see that some programs might not require it, you could maybe avoid sending them that, well, that would be acting smart, right? But you have to personalize this to yourself. Okay, I would recommend you just uploading those two documents because that would be full disclosure. But okay, so now request MSPE transcript. This is the same information I just told you, so pause the video, read it for yourself. And as you can see, this is the way I work on these projects I have, that you have to do a whole lot of steps and all that. I make my own PowerPoint presentation. I leave this thing like in red in the presentation. This is telling me this is something you have to readdress or you have to revise before just submitting. So that's how I roll, and it's a good thing to do. So here you can see that I took a screenshot on July 2nd. Now we're July 2nd, and I uploaded the MSPE, and I just screenshotted that because I knew that I was rotated in the ICU. I didn't have much time. It was maybe 2, 3 a.m. And next day I wouldn't even remember, did I actually upload the correct version of this or that? So everything I uploaded changed. I activated my OCD personality to the max, and this is a moment that you want your OCD personality to actually show. Yeah, this would be completely understandable because this will determine the rest or remaining of your career as a professional doctor. Okay, so I took a screenshot of this, and a pro tip will be never to trust anything you see. Even if you see that it says successfully uploaded, you want to every single day go into this interface and make sure that everything is in green, that there's no special message on the messaging system. We'll talk about this again shortly, so you'll see how the OCD personality will help you. ABSITE, already talked about it. Pause the video if you're surgically inclined. You do have to do that if you're in the surgical field, not me. So MYERAS fellowship documents, EFDO, just pay attention to any of these notices in red. They will tell you when the website will be down for maintenance and all that. They usually do a good job of not doing maintenance when you are in any crucial moment of the timeline. So, but you have to bear this in mind. You probably want to save things even more when you're actually doing when this thing is undergoing maintenance, because it might not even work or reflect. So now when you're already put in the token and you already have the personal information right over here, input it here, you want to pay attention to this. You want to save all your information. We'll get back to this in a second, but remember that the NRMP number, the NRMP ID is always going to be the same and is never going to change. So remember NRMP ID is the ID unique identifier for anyone that applies or has undergone through a match. So if you are a resident that is just applying, you won't have an NRMP ID. You will have to go create one for yourself. But if you're undergoing fellowship, you can use your old NRMP ID. But I can't stress enough that after you have paid for the whole application, there's a final step. And that final step is that you have to actually register for the NRMP match. Basically means that even though you pay for application to all these programs in MYERAS, if you never register for the NRMP ID, which actually opens a month or months after you have paid and submitted your applications, they won't even take you into account, and you will lose probably your money and a whole year, and it would be pretty painful for you. So I will talk about that in a couple slides later on. Okay, now publications. Publications is going to be part of the things you will be filling out. Any specialty you apply to, be it residency or fellowship, you have to have something on the publication section. There is no reason for you to apply to absolutely anything with publication section in blank, right? Even if you are coming from, you can tell me you're coming from wherever abroad, I wouldn't even risk applying to residency without having anything in the application. If you went to med school, there is something you can probably add, because there's different things you can add. There's poster presentation, there is oral presentation, there is peer-reviewed, non-peer-reviewed, published, non-published, other section, etc. So yes, I do understand that out of the US and in places that have low resources, such as my own in Costa Rica, publications sections are usually looking pretty scarce. They don't have much to it because you only have time for patient care, and you're bombarded by that, and there's no one actually helping you pursue research, and it's pretty difficult to get publications in when you're in any of these settings. But you do need to put in publications, and even in med school there are things you can probably put in, probably at least oral presentations, sort of things like that. So yeah, if you want to know a little bit better how to fill this section, I will leave this link from Malki Assad, which is also known as the match guy. He has pretty good recommendations on how to match in general, and this is a nice short video, so I'll just leave that link over there. I'll give you a couple more pointers next. So, I'll talk about this next, so ignore that one. Now, this is an extremely important section, how to upload or how to get the letter of recommendation uploaded. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be very important. You want to add new right here, so you're going to click on add new. It's going to open up a little window where you will be able to just add this information right here and this information. So you're basically going to say what is the title or license of this doctor, and in which area of medicine does this doctor practice, and the specialty to which you will be applying. So this was for my residency in internal medicine application, so that's what I have here. And you won't have any letter ID until you generate it. So after you click save, you will just see it right over here. I think you won't have a letter ID yet. So after that, you actually have to do something else. You have to go click on this little box right here. Once you click on this box, then you go to confirm. You confirm this, and by confirming, it will ask you basically, are you confirming that you will be uploading a letter of recommendation for this person and for this specialty, and review the information? And if it is correct, click yes. If not, delete that and do it again. And once you confirm it, it'll give you the two options. Do you want to either download this thing right here, which is the letter request email preview? So you can either download this and send it yourself to the letter writer through your email personally, or you can also send this through the interface. Just send us an email. You choose which one you want to do. Me personally, with my OCD personality activated, I downloaded it, saved it, and right after that would email it to my letter writer. But any of the two options I think is fine. You have to review this information pretty closely, because you don't want to do things incorrect, and this basically gives your letter writer the instructions on how to upload it. So now let's go to the section of the pro tips. Okay, so pro tips is, I want you to start working on your application FD timeline. If the MYERAS season opens June 3rd, I don't care. I want you to start working not on your PGY-3 year or finishing your PGY-2 year, or yeah, on the year before you apply to or actually are accepted to residency or fellowship. I want you to work well in advance. I want you to organize, prioritize, and execute, in the words of Jocko Willink, with a great book I recommend you reading, Extreme Ownership. So, for example, I had this ICU rotation, which is very demanding schedule-wise, probably over 80-hour work weeks. So this was June 1st. I was the entire month in the ICU, and June 3rd, the MYERAS opened. So I was only able to access this online MYERAS and start filling things while I was in the ICU. So I had a whole month being in the ICU. So yeah, I had to think wisely, and of course, most of the work you will put in towards your application is going to be before the season opens, because you want to, when the season opens, you're just going to write, okay, I already worked on this, I already published this, I already have these letters of recommendation. You don't want to start doing this when the ERA season opens, because you won't have time to do anything. Remember that any publication will take time actually to go through a peer reviewing process, right? If that's what you do. If it's an article, or we'll have to go through your hospital to approve a poster, and that takes weeks, months, etc. So be able to prioritize time. For example, ICU was pretty busy, and my intern took a whole lot of time to get ready for his second year. So you have to prioritize things. In the end, this is going to be your future, and you have to determine, of course, think wisely about all of this. So here you can see that I have several personal statements right over here, and you have to work on these day in, day out, and yeah, you want to work hard. So I would say that in retrospect, start your application on day 1 of residency. Of course, yeah, this isn't that the first day you will just start working on your personal statement, no. But what I want to say is that, what are you working towards? Like, you're in residency right now, but if your goal is potentially to go into fellowship, you have to put in the effort, you have to put in the time. So that's what I want you to think. If there's the possibility of going into fellowship, go and do the extra effort. If you don't want to go into a fellowship, you probably don't have to strengthen up your CV as much, right? Because for fellowship, you're once again showing them, oh, you want me because I bring this to the table. But if right after residency, you'll just graduate and go on to work, you probably don't need to write a single publication, because for you to work in a X or Y place, probably in today's day and age, 2024, they probably are okay with you not having publications. Not the same thing with a fellowship application. That's just one example, of course. So turn the stones early. It's better to have invested the time into building a strong CV for fellowship and then just not pursuing fellowship, instead of finding out when the ERA season opens, oh, I might want to apply to this. Well, you're not going to be able to have a very strong application. I would tell you still pursue it, still apply, but of course the odds will be less than 85%, the number we talked about earlier. You want the odds to maximize your odds, okay? Get closer to 100% instead of lower. So if your residency experience is going to be 3 years, put in the most effort into fortifying your case in the first couple of years, right? So now I'm third year. I just applied to residency. It doesn't make much sense that now I become big into research opportunities or volunteering or these new projects because I already sent my application 2 days ago. How will the programs know about it? They first need to have something there on paper or on their interface that tells them, we want to interview this person. And the way to do that is to put in the most of your effort towards the first couple of years. I'm not saying that the last year just leave, just relax. That's not how it should be. You should be authentic. So I'm going to keep on working, but don't waste your time. Now let's go on to working on this in different settings. Okay, this is another pro tip. So you only will have 5 minutes here and there if you're in the hospital, if you're applying to fellowship. So you want to really concentrate. So have your earbuds, right? Have your whatever you use. In my case, I highly recommend my AirPods Pro 2nd generation because the noise canceling is top notch. So I'm always listening into conversations. That's just me. If there's someone speaking about a case around me, I'm paying attention to that while I'm doing my thing. So I might not be able to put in 100% of the focus into what I'm doing. So whenever I feel like that, earbuds go in. I tell them, hey, sorry, I'll be 5 minutes. Just if you need me, just throw something at me, yell at me, but I'll be concentrating on this. And of course, I put in this sort of music, which I'll also add this link because this one is the specific link I found during my fellowship application, which might be useful to you. So I'm just sharing with you my whole experience. And yeah, if you have 5 minutes at the hospital, home, at the mechanic, oil change, whatever, put it into working on these things, okay? In addition to your Max app, to your other things, because you don't want to be overburdened once you are ready to apply. Have a daily to-do list. This is another pro tip. And this list right here is a slide I had that I would change basically on a daily basis. And for example, here I had just received several different letters of recommendation. So this is just me showing gratitude and appreciation for my letter writers. Pro tip is, remember that your letter writers put in the time. They got out of their way to actually write you a letter. They had to think through it. They are putting their own personal information, saying that they confide that you will be good in this new position you're applying to. So you have to be thankful. So for example, I put it in Spanish, but I'm just remembering to myself, thank this letter writer, thank that one, upload this. I sent the MSPE again. Is that correct? That's what I want you to do. So I would do this on this little slide. You can do it however you prefer, but have a to-do list, because you get bombarded by things in the hospital and you have a lot of things to do. If you don't write these things down somewhere, once you open up your computer and you only have 5 minutes, you'll be like, what did I have to do? You won't remember. You will go into social media and you won't get out of there. So another pro tip is saving and resaving often. Every 5 minutes, click. If whichever button is similar to save, update, whatever, click that button every 5 minutes. You don't want to lose. You're like, oh, this sounds incredible for my personal statement. You write it down, and then you're called to see a patient. You go see the patient, then you come back. You see the computer, and it's not there. Oh man, that's horrible. So you don't want that happening. So this is specifically for the personal statement. It's the update button. I would recommend you having several versions of your personal statement, not only here, but also have it in your personal computer, just in case. And before you finish for the day, also ensure that the changes you actually made were all applied. So this happened to me, for example, before I certified and submitted my ERAS application. I went into my personal statement, for example, and I went there and I'm like, no, in my last version, I remember I wrote the word within instead of the word with. I changed the word with to within. And that's something I had put in. A single word made a lot of difference. It ended up like with your program. No, it was supposed to say within your program. And I put in like 30 minutes of thought into that. And I see my personal statement, it says with. And I'm like, oh man. I had to review my whole personal statement and make a couple more changes that hadn't actually been reflected. Why? I have no idea, because I've seen that this is pretty good. As soon as you hit save, it works. I had actually hit update several times and it had been working, but it didn't work on that occasion. Maybe I lost internet for a minute or 2 minutes. So be sure to check and recheck. Okay. So next thing I want you to do is, let's go to next. Well, we'll go to that in a second. Okay, so this is another pro tip, is just be on top of everything. This is me screenshotting. I uploaded this document, I uploaded that document, and I know the dates I uploaded them, so I'm on top of that. And also remember that the right column, if you are in the dashboard section, this right column over here, which is called the messaging or services and has contact information, that is your friend. So this message center is your friend. The people that are there on the other side are there to help you. So be very appreciative of them. And actually, I'll show you an example of how they basically helped my application a whole lot. Here you can see an email that they're telling me that one of the letters I actually uploaded that said it was for critical care medicine actually sounded like it specially recommended me for cardiology. Imagine me applying to critical care medicine and the letter actually saying, yeah, and I trust that Charles will be great in cardiology. So immediately they'll be like, this guy applied incorrectly. We're not even taking him into account. Next. Okay. So they don't know my story. They don't know that I might enjoy both of these fields a whole lot. They won't know any of this. So if you're applying to critical care, send them the critical care information they need. If you're applying to cardiology, send them the cardiology information they need. So as I mentioned in the past, I love that they helped me out. I have no idea how they detected that, and I was able to abort sending this letter. Actually, I didn't even send it because I didn't want to. This would actually reduce my odds. So I'm applying. I might make a video why I'm applying to both those specialties, but yeah, I can see myself in any of those two areas, and I believe it was a good idea to have both doors open. And how I feel on interview season and the quality of the programs I see, I could go into any of these two. I think I have pretty good qualities for both of these different specialties. So okay. Enough about myself. Reach out to letter writers, ideally at least 2 months in advance. So even though they can upload the letter around the month from the programs actually seeing your application, you don't want to tell them within a month, because even a month can be short. You know, everyone will be asking for letter writers 1 month from the actual application. You want to tell them 2 months in advance. Better sound a little bit like too much over the top instead of the opposite, because if you tell them in 2 months, if they are sort of organized people, they'll probably will appreciate it. Most people will appreciate you ask them and give them 2 months to write you a letter. And when you're already ready, when it hits the time that you can actually upload the letter, there is where you remind them, and there is when you send them the link for with the letter ID that I showed you, because without that link, they cannot upload anything. This is a sample email I sent to one of my letter writers. As you can see, I scheduled this for being sent at 8 a.m. because I was in the ICU. It was probably 2 a.m. You don't want to send an email at 2 a.m. and wake up this person, because that's not a good idea. You want to schedule this for an adequate time. And as you can see right here, I uploaded, initially my first letter writers, I just like asked them for a letter, and I hadn't even sent them the personal statement and CV, but I noticed that all of them told me, like, or most of them told me, hey, can you send me your CV and personal statement? So then I thought to myself, and I was like, oh man, I'm already back in this game. I'm already delayed. I should already have my CV ready and my personal statement. So my recommendation to you is sort of work on a rough draft of your personal statement, at least that manifests the main ideas. You can tell them, in all honesty, I told them, hey, this isn't my last final draft for my personal statement and CV, but it has about 90 to 95% of what will be there on the application. So I'm just sending this to you. Please let me know if you need to wait on my last and final version, and they will just tell you yes or no, of course. For letters of recommendation, you have to be sure that they will write you a strong letter of recommendation. You don't want any mediocrity right here. You want to, if you put in the effort for a strong letter of recommendation, that's the least you can deserve, right? Because this will determine your future. So if you ask someone for a letter of recommendation and they're just like, oh yeah, of course, you have to ask them again, and they're like, yeah, of course, and you have to, and you see that the other people you ask for a letter of recommendation, they're like, of course, send me the link, and within 48 hours, they're uploading the letter, or they're on top of this. Those are probably the strongest letters of recommendation. But if you get someone that you have to ask them over and over and over again for a letter, and they're just sort of extending the thing, and they don't want to do it yet, and you send them a personal statement and a CV, and they ask you that they want the finalized versions, and they know that you're very, very busy, and you still have to be following them. I'm not sure if that's going to be a strong letter, right? It could potentially be a strong letter, but if you get any red flags, right, if your gut feeling tells you, like, I don't think this will be a strong letter, you have to be honest to yourself, and if you have to reach out to that person and ask that person, am I deserving? Do you think I am still deserving of a strong letter of recommendation for you? They should be honest with you and tell you. And if it's not going to be strong enough, if it's going to be something generic, you don't want generic letters, because they will actually, it might be better to send 3 very strong letters as opposed to 3 strong letters, and last letter will be very generic, and you can read right through that. This is just like they did it because they felt they had to, but they really don't support this person, okay? So I might do another lecture on that, but okay, whatever you write in the MYERAS in your personal statement, I want you to write, sleep, read it, repeat it. Write, sleep, read, repeat. So this isn't going to be a process that will happen overnight. I thought that my personal statement for residency was great. I put in so many hours into it to make it be crisp in one single page. I didn't think my fellowship personal statement would be better than it, but actually I put in a whole lot of hours into my fellowship personal statement, and it reflects me. It is me. So initially I thought it was ready, but I showed it to other set of eyes, and they were like, some people would say, yeah, it's great. I had people say, it's great, just send that. But I didn't stay there. I showed it to other people, other mentors, right? Mentors and sort of close friends. And my mentor, one of my mentors said, like, no, man, like, what are you trying to say here? Like, it's pretty generic. I'm not getting the point exactly. What are you trying to say? What is your goal? What are you going to bring to this program? And I thought to myself, and I'm like, yeah, like, it sounds great. Like, its readability is great, but it's it doesn't tell you much. You don't understand what am I doing? What's this? So I had to put a whole lot of hours. And in the end, your final product, your personal statement, is going to be one of the most important documents because it reflects who you are, why you want the program, what you're going to bring to the program, why you're worthy, right? And basically, it also wants to show you can write in English and you can be enough, like, concise to write it in one page. The personal statement is a trap. It gives you, if you see the characters it offers, you can write pages and pages and pages about yourself. But if I was able to, after one full fellowship experience in Costa Rica, over 13 medically related job experience in medicine, and internal medicine residence in the States, plus several challenges, be able to write one single page right over here, I see no excuse. Maybe there's 1% of people that will have to go over a page because they have to explain something a little more thoroughly. But most of you seeing this probably don't have to write over one page. So if you write one single page, that's showing you're very professional. It's sort of an unwritten rule, right? Whenever it's one page, wow, that's crisp. Like, oh man, nothing in the back. Oh man, that's great. I really love that. So it's a great challenge because, believe me, it's difficult to just be able to make it in one page. I had like one page and a couple lines. Believe me, it took me like 2 or 3 days to actually convert it into one single page. Another pro tip I'm going to tell you is, if you want to, so go the extra mile if you want to arrive at the extra mile. So if you want to go into a pretty competitive program, yeah, you have to put in the work. So in my case, a friend of mine, Dr. Galliano, Santiago Galliano from Mayo Clinic, he's currently resident there, applying to my same specialty, cardiology. And well, yeah, he's only probably applying to cardiology, I think. He told me, like, hey, I'm thinking of doing a Google Drive and put in a link to some of my posters. So that's a great idea. So pro tip is, make a community and don't be egotistical. The idea is to help yourselves out. Don't be so insecure that you think that, oh, I can't share any information with this person because they'll take my spot. There's a whole lot of spots out there, and actually helping others is what makes the journey worth it. And secondly is, this is a great idea. I recommend it to you. I was able to add a link to 90% to 95% of all my research things, even oral presentations. Even oral presentations I did back in 2019 in Spanish. I put 1 or 2 oral presentations there. Of course, it wasn't the focus, but I really like certain presentations I did, such as diastology, or the study of the diastolic function of the heart. It is in Spanish, but yeah, I put in a link. You can see the video. Put in a link for posters, put in a link for abstracts, several things. If there's a journal article or something you sent that is still under review or hasn't been published, I would tell you, okay, think wisely, because maybe it wouldn't look good that you send the abstract for something that is under revision potentially. I'm not sure about that, but use your intelligence to guide you with that. And I'm gonna keep this Google Drive open for the whole match. Of course, this is when I was starting out, so I was going one by one, adding. And yeah, it's gonna take some time. This thing took me almost a whole day just to add links to all these things and have a backup. Okay, so additional resources. So keep it simple, right? I would tell you to avoid the Reddit rabbit hole. If you have enough time and you're preparing well in advance, you go into Reddit and see what they're saying. If not, don't waste your time there because you'll go crazy. So use additional resources that might be pretty fruitful, such as Match a Resident. So this is extremely helpful for residency, and even more if you're an international medical graduate, it can help you. You can see experiences of people in those programs, and you don't want to end up in a toxic program. Of course, you want to be able to feel safe. You want to be able to feel not only well tolerated, but also welcomed in the place you are. So yeah, that would be some useful information. For residency match, I basically only used Match a Resident. And for fellowship, I used it very lightly. It can also be helpful. I'm leaving it there for you. I know a lot of people that require a visa or require any specific information from programs use this Frida. And Frida, you just have to log in. There's memberships that cost money, but of course, there's also some that are free and could provide enough information. And I would also recommend looking into that. Now, this is going to be on your full day before programs can see your applications. So this is going to be a very important part of this video because you've already put in all this effort. Now it's time to actually apply to the programs. So why am I saying full day before programs see your application? I would say you need at least 12 hours free, focused, right? You can maybe have a clinic half day and apply that day. But if you have more than a clinic half day and you're applying to several programs, and even more if you're applying to more than one specialty, you can find yourself in a very important time constraint. So go through it wisely. Be ready to certify and submit MYERAS. Okay, I haven't said this in the previous parts of this video. I think this is one of the most important things you can do is never click on the certify/submit MYERAS, because once you click that, and it will ask you, like it will give you an important notice saying that once you click that, there's no going back. So don't do that. Save. I do agree with saving everything you do, but don't go to that final step that says certify/submit until you have your credit card in hand and are ready to pay for the application. That's when you certify and submit. Before that, never certify and submit. And if you're reading through this stuff, you won't end up making that mistake, because if you click on it, it will tell you anything. If you accept this, it won't be able to be reversed. So you don't want to click that until you have all the information there ready. be ready to, I already told you, to activate your OCD personality triple check-in. So if you were already checking before, on the day of application, you need to triple check. You want all the hard work to actually reflect by the programs applied to. Okay, so now you're all set. Your card is in your hand. I want you to repeat after me, basically, these different steps. So you want to upload all the documents, personal statement, letter of recommendation, and additional documents. So you have to click on the right hand where it says assign. You want to go through those programs. Remember that if you want to assign it to all of them, you just hit assign, and there's the upper left little checkbox. You just click that and it will mark all the programs below. So that's an easy and quick way. If you're applying to several different specialties, you have to make sure that you send personal statement for one specialty to that one and for the other specialty to the other, and you have to specify what you need to do. So I want you to do that for every single one of these. You have to do it for the personal statement, have to do it for the letter of recommendations, and not for only one letter. If you have 3 or 4 different letters, you can't just do it as an umbrella thing. You have to go one by one, applying each of these letters. And I know people that just did these 2 and thought they were ready and sent it. Next day, they found out that they also had to assign the additional documents. So the additional documents are these documents right here. So yes, you have to also assign these one by one. So go up to down, assigning them to these. You assign to all the programs because it's going to be exactly the same to all the programs and specialties you are applying to. And as you can see, the only one in yellow can be ABSITE because I'm not going into any surgical specific thing. And after you have assigned everything, check, recheck. If you can leave a day between, do that. Then you basically pay. And remember that the maximum amount of programs that can be displayed on the screen is 100. So if you have 110 programs, pay those 100 and then go on to another 10. Initially, it will only display like 20 or less programs. So you have to click the button that says show you the maximum. Maximum is 100. If you're an international medical graduate, you understand this better because we have to apply way broader than US medical graduates because our odds are usually against us regarding that. Pause this, look it over. Again, I want you to do this when you're ready to pay. And next off is, I know you already paid, but there's a pending step. So after you paid, yeah, you can rest for a while, but you have to make sure you end up registering to the NRMP match. So you go into the NRMP website and you search what specialty you're applying to. So here, in my case, medicine and pediatric specialties, registration opens August 21st. So currently we are July 19th. So I'll have to wait till August 21st, put in all the reminders you want. And when time comes, you get in here, you log in here, you register, and that's the final step. Of course, throughout the process, stay posted. These are 2 pages that will be pretty good throughout it, and congratulations. So now it's time to wait for your destiny to actually manifest. Please always remember this, keep on digging till you get to the jackpot. And I don't know what happened here, but basically you can see the rest of it right over here. And thank all those people who actually got you here, parents, mentors, letter writers, and that's about it. See you in the next one.